Mamba out.
Drippin', saucy, yeah. Bitch, I do this often. My bitch is bad, she always in office. Don't got a tags, I'm running my body. Can't see the pads, I'm living too fast. With 20 my dash, I'm up, but I lost him. He wanna brag, I emptied his bag and took what he had. Don't care what it cost him. Then he broke, he turned into a hoe. It seems before the shit is exhausting. Ran on a hoe, I wanna be known. The stage of my soul, you ran even muscle. I even broke.
What's up, Holy Sports Now with Darius and Aiden, and today we are going to be discussing should we or should we not have an all-star game. Man, a lot of people have weighed in on this, and a lot of people have spoken their opinions, but here you are now to get ours. Darius, do you believe that an all-star game should be played as they propose in Atlanta, I believe?
No, not at all. And this is a terrible, terrible decision by the NBA and the NBPA, right? The NBA has already postponed over 24 games, and the thought of even attempting to host the All-Star game is mind-blowing, man. And COVID-19 has shown the world how contagious it could be and how quickly it can shut down events. If this All-Star game does take place, if one of those star players tests positive, that may lead to an outbreak in all the NBA superstars taking place in the All-Star game and across the teams. And we know the NBA cannot afford that, especially with how much money the NBA lost due to that suspension of the season from March all the way to the beginning of July, I believe, right? And to me, that idea seems like a shutdown of the NBA is waiting to happen, as I mentioned earlier. The NBA cannot afford another suspension of the season like it did last year, and if it does happen, I expect millions of dollars to be lost by the NBA. The NBA season is so crucial to the NBA right now. We were supposed to play 72 games. Most of the games have been postponed for multiple teams due to COVID-19 and COVID-19 outbreaks this season. We've seen how COVID-19 has impacted some teams that are expected to be playoff contenders this season, most notably the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat. We've seen how some of those teams have been impacted due to COVID, some of those players missing out games due to contract tracing, etc. For the players, you see those superstar players. LeBron James, Giannis, Kawhi, James Harden speaking out that they have zero excitement for this, man. And I have to give the kudos to De'Aaron Fox for actually speaking up on it first, man. And some of us don't see De'Aaron Fox as an all-NBA type of point guard, but let me tell you something. De'Aaron Fox is a once-in-a-generational type of talent.
I love De'Aaron Fox. I think he's a phenomenal player as well.
He is a phenomenal player. Even though he's plays for the Kings, haven't made the playoffs in a long time, De'Aaron Fox is a phenomenal player, and the Kings have a star and a stud in De'Aaron Fox. And let me say this about LeBron James. LeBron James, in my mind, is the face of the NBA. He's been the face of the NBA for the past 10 plus years. If LeBron, now we have heard other players say this, man, before COVID-19 hit. If LeBron doesn't want to do it, the NBA shouldn't do. LeBron just has that much power and just has that much attention towards the NBA, where the NBA could cancel anything due to what LeBron says. LeBron doesn't want to play it. Why do we need to play it? There's no point. And I understand that Chris Paul is the president of the NBPA, and we all know Chris Paul is an ambassador. He is an ambassador for historic colleges and universities, and I believe this game is going to be played for HBCUs and people, and encouraging people to get the COVID-19 vaccines to get vaccinated, right? Encouraging them to do that, but we are putting these superstar players at risk for nothing. For nothing at all. The NBA All-Star Game this year is no importance to nobody. It has no importance to anybody, right? And we all know the NBA All-Star Game is for the fans. It's for the fans. I don't believe no fans are gonna be there. What they need to play for? There's no point.
They
No
going
point.
if they have fans at the Super Bowl, they're gonna have fans at the All Star game. That's not necessarily my major concern. Um, my concern here is that what we're going to do is what we're going to do now that we have a vaccine is that we're going to get complacent and that we're going to say, well, since we have this, we don't need to stop doing this or stop doing that. No, we need to keep doing the same things we were doing pre-vaccine because guess what? We still don't understand the complete science around this. We understand contact tracing. We understand as far as scientifically goes how the virus is transmitted, right? We have a new strand now that's just been exposed to us throughout America. We don't understand it yet. And for the NBA to just go forward and say, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, without consulting the people, the true people at risk, the players and the staff and the coaches. They need to be the first people to be consulted about these types of events. It goes to show that when your current biggest star in LeBron doesn't want to do it, and when Giannis, who's right now the poster child of the NBA right now, is contemplating things about it, and I'm sure many other NBA players are confused about why we're going forward with this and why this is happening as well, but they aren't as outspoken as them, or they just don't have the platform as them. I think if they start this All Star game, what we might see is we might see the first ever All-Star game opt-outs. I know we've seen those for injuries and things of that nature, but I'm saying that we have a true possibility of superstars opting out because the risk isn't worth it.
I understand your point, Aiden. Opt outs. I believe the players could get fined for that. I'm not
Yeah, they
100%
definitely could.
sure.
Yeah, they definitely could get fined, but they could also file a complaint to the NFL, to the NBA Players Association saying that I feel at risk doing this type of activity and this, that, and third, and they could get up and they could get voted for an appeal and things of that nature. But there's a lot of legal stuff that we're not going to get into right now. It's possible. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, if you look at it, you look at the NFL and their Pro Bowl, right? They did that virtually on Madden, and we all know a football team is way larger than a basketball team. 53-man roster compared to a 15, 18, 20-man roster based on how the NBA season is going. But you look at COVID and how I mentioned this earlier in my opening statement, how big of an impact COVID can make on a team. Look at the Dallas Mavericks and Miami Heat. They, to us, were playoff contenders going into the season, and now they're pretty much two teams ranked at the bottom of their two individual conferences, right? Due to COVID, we can see how COVID and contract tracing could affect the team, and if some of the best players on some of these top tier teams contract COVID and are not able to play for like 10 to 15 games, that's going to have a big impact on a team's playoff contention and how how successful they are going into the postseason and how successful they are possibly trying to fight for a playoff spot. Aiden, you look at it, the NBA is putting so much at risk, so much at risk right now. This is a terrible, terrible decision. This has been a terrible week for Adam Silver and the NBA PA. You go back to Kevin Durant, right? We all in the situation there. Him being pulled literally in the middle of the game, middle of the third quarter. He was ruled out. Then he was available to play. Came off the bench. He was playing, and he got pulled in the third quarter. And he got pulled in the third quarter due to somebody who was in close contact with him. He tested positive for COVID, and KD is expected to miss the next, as of now, the next 3 games. So we can see how big of an impact somebody testing positive is close to you, and
Kevin Durant's a player who's already had COVID. That's just
right,
show you
exactly.
something else.
And he was taking antibiotics for it. So if that happens, if KD is not able to play for like multiple games for the Brooklyn Nets, even though they do have Kyrie and James Harden, that's gonna have a big impact for the Nets chemistry wise. There's no point of this. There's absolutely no point of this at all. Right? The NBA, like when that schedule first came out, I don't believe an All-Star game was scheduled. They just said, "Hey, we're gonna give the players like 5 days off, and then we're gonna hop back into the regular season." Due to the NBA season being pushed back due to
Which
last
a
season's
5 day
suspension.
break would be a lot better than doing that game. I'd vote in favor of a 5 day break. And if you want to get some action, play freaking 2K.
Exactly, man. NBA
We like
sponsors it.
2K. Everybody likes 2K. Some like 2K more than Madden.
Right, exactly. NBA sponsored it. Right, do what the NFL did with the Pro Bowl. Get a couple of former players, get a couple of celebrities to play it. Right, easy peasy. 5 days off, hop right back into the season. Right, easy as that. There's nothing else to be said, nothing else to be discussed. NBA season's already been pushed back due to the suspension of last season. There's no point in playing the All-Star game at all. No excitement, no fun. Fans clearly, from what I've heard, don't want it. I don't want it. You don't want it. There's no point. And Aiden, do you have any final words?
Nah, I have no final words. For the first time in a while, I have no final words. I've gotten out all my feelings today, man.
All right, no point for the All-Star game today. Thank you for joining us here on Sports Line. There's Aiden. I'm Darius Thompson. That's Aiden Musson. And we'll see you tomorrow, everybody, for another day of Jam Pack Sports. Until then, peace and love. See you tomorrow.